We want to welcome all of you joining us online. I'm Marnie Hughes, host of NewsNation Prime, and tonight we're going to be taking a closer look at the disappearance of a young man named Dylan Rounds. He is from Utah, and he vanished Memorial Day weekend. And in a moment, you are going to hear from Dylan's mom, detailing the last conversation that she had with her son and also the strange circumstances surrounding his disappearance. I'm also going to be talking with a private investigator about this case, so be ready with your questions that you might have as you watch this story, your comments as well. We want you to be part of the conversation. We chose to focus on Dylan's story this week because so many of you reached out to us online on social media, and most of the cases we cover come from the public. And since last fall, our team has traveled the country talking to families and law enforcement on these cases with a mission to bring these missing cases into the national spotlight. Here is a quick look at our series and some of the cases that we have covered.
I don't think she's in the water. I think they're looking in the wrong place.
Do you believe that Michael is alive?
I know in my heart he's alive.
I really believe I'm going to have my son back. That's my daughter that's missing, bro.
We're not going to just let this become a cold case.
It's a puzzle, and there are key pieces that are missing.
I don't feel like they're deceased. I feel like somebody have them.
I get them no matter how long it takes, how hard it's going to be. I won't give up. I will never give up.
One of the things that we say here at NewsNation Prime, really since the beginning of launching this series, is that every single one of these missing people matters. They have family and friends who care about them, who want answers, who want to know where they are, and they want them home safely. So whether it is young or old, black or white, man or woman, whether you're in California, Montana, Texas, Utah in this case, or anywhere along the East Coast, we have sent our teams all across the country to capture these cases, talk to the people involved, and try to uncover some details. And you play such an important role in that because you share it online. And the more people that are talking about these missing people, the more we get their faces out there. Maybe someone recognizes them, maybe someone knows something. That brings us to Dylan's case tonight, and we are partnering with our local NewsNation station, ABC4 in Salt Lake City, and reporter Marcos Ortiz. And Marcos is going to be joining us live tonight with some additional information into this investigation of Dylan's disappearance and also his conversation with Dylan's mom. But first, here's a closer look at the case.
This began on Monday, May 30th, Memorial Day, when we figured out a couple people, nobody had heard from my son for a couple days.
For the past year, this is where Dylan Rounds called home. It's along the Nevada-Utah border in Box Elder County. Dylan's mother said his dream was to start up his own farm, and this spring, he started from scratch.
Dylan's been working on this farm out in Lucin, Utah, his own farm, on getting the ground tore out and getting it prepared for a crop. This year was going to be his first crop. So that farm was his whole life.
He lived in this camper, and when no one heard from him on Memorial Day weekend, his Idaho family traveled to his farm. It was abandoned.
We've been searching. We've been looking everywhere. Search and rescue came out on Monday, May 30th. They were out there in the afternoon, and that first afternoon we located his boots.
His mother said the boots were a short distance away from his RV camper, and it's the only pair he owns.
At that point, it should have been treated as foul play. I mean, you just don't find somebody's boots in the desert that's missing.
On the Box Elder County Sheriff's Facebook page, they consider it a missing persons case. They've received tips and continue to search the Lucin area. The sheriff post said his pickup truck was found on the property and believed he was on foot. His mother said despite recent rains before his disappearance, it appeared not to have been moved, raising more suspicions.
It's like it never moved in the rain, like he never took it anywhere on Saturday. like they originally thought.
Wednesday, before he was last seen in the town of nearby Lucin, he told his mother of a man walking barefoot along the road.
He said, "Mom, you'll never believe what happened to me. This guy jumped out of the desert. He was bloody. He didn't have shoes on. You know, he wanted a ride. I didn't give him a ride."
The family learned of the man, but she says he doesn't believe he's connected after talking with him. She's unsure if authorities feel likewise. Search and rescue units from both Box Elder County and nearby Nevada have continued to search the area, but there's still no sign of Dylan.
He was so excited when I talked to him Thursday. He says, "Mom, my grain's growing. It's coming up. I'm going to get a crop this year." I just ecstatic, high on the world about it, and then just vanished. Nothing, not a trace.
Marcos,
well, this is something
go ahead,
that's
Marcos.
somewhat of a mystery right now. Yeah, this is somewhat of a mystery right now here in the Utah area because he was basically doing what he wanted to do all his life, and that was to farm. And he was doing that when he just suddenly vanished on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I mean, living out his dream. Marcos, something stood out to me watching your piece, and I've seen it now several times and been reading a lot about it. That mysterious man who was in the desert, covered in blood, that at one point Dylan ran into. Mom says they don't believe he's a suspect, a person of interest. What are police saying about that person, and has that person shed any light on this case, on his whereabouts, and what he may have seen?
Well, Marty, he was actually booked into jail and questioned about that very same thing. But before that, he volunteered a phone call to the mother of Dylan and basically said that I have not seen him. I don't know anything about him. He was not in the area. And according to his mom, she basically cleared him. What police are saying about it, they're not saying anything about it. But, of course, he had a warrant for his arrest in Montana. That's why he was originally booked in jail. But as far as Dylan's mother, she doesn't believe he had anything to do with it.
Got it. I want to welcome people online to jump into the conversation. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you post them below as we continue to talk to Marcus, and then in a moment a private investigator will be joining me. Marcus, I know that you spoke extensively to Dylan's mom, and there's a piece of sound that I'd like to play that wasn't part of the piece when she talks about his boots and some of the other things that were strange around his property. Let's take a listen.
We gave him everything. You know, we had the crazy phone calls that Dylan was being held hostage. We had all of this stuff that added up to something's wrong. Something is seriously wrong. And it's June 15th. 17 days later is when they come out and say they're going to treat it criminally. And they can tell me behind the background they were treating it that way from the beginning all they want. But it's a bunch of lies, because if you were, the pickup wouldn't have left. The boots wouldn't have sat in the back of an SUV and not been sent to the lab until the 6th. Dylan's DNA, Dylan's brother's DNA would have been collected immediately, so we had something to match Dylan to. None of that kind of stuff was done. Nothing was fingerprinted. Nothing was even looked at. So don't tell me from day number 3 you were treating it criminal and as a homicide, and that's exactly what the sheriff told me.
So obviously, Marcos, the mom is pretty frustrated that all of this time has passed. Can you elaborate a little bit more on her concerns and the communication going on between her and law enforcement to find Dylan?
Well, you know, right after Memorial Day weekend, when they actually went to that area, to his farm, they went there, everything was gone. He was abandoned. They couldn't find his wallet. They couldn't find his cell phone. And they didn't think the picture was right. They were worried right from the very outset. They tried to convince the law enforcement in Box Elder County that this is more than just a missing person. They labeled it a missing person at the very beginning, but she says that their search was lukewarm. They came out, they had a look-see, things of that nature, but there was no active investigation going on. As you said there, as she said there in that soundbite, it was a couple of weeks later when they finally labeled it a criminal investigation. But she says, you know, that was like 14 days later, 14 days lost during that time when they didn't take it seriously, according to this mother.
What was the deciding factor, Marcos, for investigators to label it criminal potentially?
Boy, I asked that to the mother as well, too, and she didn't have an answer to that. But she believes that it's the attention from the media that is reported on that here, both in Salt Lake City as well as Nevada and Idaho, I should point out, because the family is from Idaho. It's all that media attention that is putting pressure on law enforcement, and she believes that that's the reason why, they're starting to, take this more seriously.
The other thing, and we've got some people chiming in online, Marcos, they're curious about this rural area of Utah near the Nevada border. Can you give us an idea of what it's like out there, what's around Dylan's farm?
Yeah, sure. It's 200 miles from Salt Lake City, northwest of Salt Lake City. If you look on the map, it's right on the border of Nevada and Utah. In the middle of nowhere. It's in the northwest corner of Utah. It's just barren desert area, but there's small ranching communities out in that location. The nearest town, or nearest, I don't know if you want to call it a town, it's called Lucin, Utah, and it's just a small little village, just a gas and go, and that's pretty much it in that community. Everybody hangs out at that gas and go, and that's it. Nevada, there's a community about 20 miles just on the other side of the border, but it's just in a remote area right now in Utah, and, it's just hard to say what happened to him.
Finally, Marcos, I want to play another clip from your interview with Mom, and it really focuses on Dylan, who he is, his dreams, his future, his plans for that remote area of Utah. Take a listen.
I mean, he dropped out of high school to pursue the dream of having his own farm. That is his everything. He didn't walk. He was so excited when I talked to him Thursday. He says, "Mom, my grain's growing. It's coming up. I'm going to get a crop this year." I just ecstatic, high on the world about it, and then just vanished.
Just vanished, but he had his whole life ahead of him. He was out there doing what he loved. Talk more about Dylan, who he was, what his mom shared with you.
And that's pretty amazing, Think about it, a 19-year-old, and this is what he wants to do right out of high school. He wants to farm. I mean, that's a dying industry here in America, but yet Dylan Rounds wanted to pursue that, and he was set out to do that. He got some land from his grandfather. His grandparents live in that area as well, too, and he has a small little RV camper trailer and a pickup truck, and he was living out of there, out of that, the RV camper, and he was making a go of this farm, and that just reflects on who Dylan Rounds was. His mother says that he was a very stable young man, and there are rumors out there that perhaps he committed suicide. His mother says, no, that's the farthest thing from the truth. There's no way that he would have done that because he had so much going for him in his life at that time, and right now it's a criminal investigation. His mother thinks something bad's happened to him.
Yeah, well, and it stands out to me, Marcos, that he was excited about his first crop and seeing the fruits of his labor on that farm. Let's just hope that providing more insight into this case gets to the right people tonight, because somebody knows something. Marcos Ortiz from our sister station, KTVX in Salt Lake City. Marcos, great reporting. We'll be staying in touch for updates on this case. Thank you very much. I want to bring in private investigator now, Jason Jensen. We have worked with him on a lot of our missing cases. He has incredible insight, not just into missing person cases and how to investigate them, but also this region of Utah. Jason, great to see you. Let's start right there. You heard Marcos talking about this remote region of northwestern Utah. What do you know about that area?
Well, like Marcos was explaining, it's very desolate. I mean, if you had a picture in your mind of what the desert's like, flat, arid, no vegetation, that's exactly the kind of environment we're talking about. And being there on the border between Nevada and Utah, there's really nothing there. Oftentimes, that's portrayed or characterized as the salt flats, where people do racing because it's just flat, barren, oftentimes just a wasteland.
Jason, I want to play a little bit more of Marcos's interview with Dylan's mom, in particular talking about some of what is now evidence in this case of a criminal investigation, some of the things that stood out to her early on when her son went missing, and then I'll get your thoughts.
Sure.
We started noticing things that were just off. Dylan's pickup it rained. It rained a whole bunch in the desert that week, or that weekend, Saturday particularly. There was no tracks, there was no pickup tracks, there was no boot tracks, there was nothing. It's like nobody had been around there at all. If Dylan would have been around that day, around his pickup truck, around his camp trailer, there would have been prints. And then, because of the mud, and then the pickup had left no tracks, no trace of it being in the mud. It's been pressure washed clean. The tires are clean. It just, there's no way if he was out doing what he was doing, he would have a clean pickup. It's like it never moved in the rain. Like he never took it anywhere on Saturday, like they originally thought.
What stands out to you, Jason, about what the mom is sharing and what she saw out there?
Well, what we do know is that day that he was last on the phone with his grandmother on the 28th, it was raining. So he said, I have to go, you know, get my seat indoors so it's not, you know, going to get ruined. So what that means is anyone that's familiar with the desert knows firsthand that when it's raining, it's going to be splashing mud like crazy. So there should be all sorts of, you know, splatter of you know, diluted mud on the sides of the truck. And what she's describing is it seems like it was cleaned. So it's my understanding that he had a pressure washer there on site. So somebody cleaned off his truck and then erased any evidence that there was any footprints or tire marks in the soil. So that's very troubling. It's like somebody was concealing that there was any activity there.
Wow, that is concerning. Just made the hair on my arm stand up that there would be a potential cover-up of a crime here. I'd be interested in what police have to say about that. As a PI who you've looked into lots of these cases, Jason, where would you be focusing your efforts? Who would you be questioning right now?
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, Candace Cooley, Dylan's mom, excluded the guy that was, you know, had this really scary kind of description of having blood on him, and that she dismissed him because he reached out to her and explained he hadn't seen her, and, you know, pretty well puts on a good facade that he's an innocent person trying to help. But you have to ask yourself, is he trying to throw any suspicion off by initiating that call rather than somebody calling him out of the blue saying, hey, you're one of the last people that, you know, that there's text messages between you and Dylan, what's going on? So if somebody reaches out, you know, it's really because they're innocent or they're trying to throw off any trail that leads to them.
Jason, pardon me, go ahead.
No, so that would be my first concern. But if law enforcement has ruled him out, then you want to look elsewhere. Where was he at last? Who may have followed him home? You know, we do know that he doesn't really have any neighbors, but we do know that on the 26th, he had eaten at the Saddle Sore Bar there in, Montello, Nevada. So did he get in a conversation about, you know, his high hopes and his expectations of his crop? Did somebody follow him there, or did he take them with, you know, maybe a ranch hand that's going to help him with the farm? And did this farm hand decide that they were going to try and rob the guy? Who knows? So I'd be interested to find out from the people that last saw him at the Saddle Sore Saloon if he was engaged in conversation with anybody. And I'm sure he's a regular there because there's not too many places to go out to eat.
Right. Well, the other thing would be a digital trail, right? Like, where is his cell phone right now? What was the last call that he made? Have they pinged it on some local towers in the area? That seems like that would be key as well.
No, especially since his phone is missing as well. So it wasn't left at his home where he was last likely to be, but his wallet's gone, his phone's gone. So either he has those items with him on his person if he's alive and well somewhere, or if, you know, he's the victim of foul play, it's entirely possible that the bad guy has those items. So ping the phone, find out where the phone's at.
Yeah, well, one of the most peculiar things to me, Jason, is his boots. His mom said it was the only pair of boots that he owned. He's out there on the farm. If he had walked away, he wouldn't have walked away barefoot, and so these boots were found. People online are picking up on that as well. Terry on Facebook is asking about the boots and blood that was found on one of the boots. That must be a critical piece of information. She's asking, whose blood was it? That can't be difficult to determine, right?
It wouldn't be, but what we don't know yet is if indeed it is blood. It can be a stain of some kind. It could be animal blood. It could be, since this is his only pair of boots, it could be a number of different things occurring at any particular time as long as he's owned these particular boots. So from what we know from Candace is he gets the same brand. He only has one pair each time. He wears them out. He gets the same brand next time. So if this is his only pair of boots, why are they left at his home? If his wallet's gone and he's gone, and, you know, why would he take off without his boots? So it seems to be a clue that he's a victim of some kind of foul play, because why would his truck be there, his wallet and his phone be gone, but not his person not be there? So that's a little strange.
None of it adds up. Jason, walk us through how a team of investigators from different law enforcement departments will work together on a case like this to kind of comb the area, because it is such a wide and desolate area. You've got the Sheriff's Department in Box Elder County. You've got local authorities. Now we're hearing the FBI is involved. How do they handle an investigation like this and conduct a search?
Well, typically what happens in this scenario, especially, well, you know, specific to Dylan's situation, is since he resides on the border, you got on the east side, the Utah law enforcement, which is the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, and then on the Nevada side, you got the Elko County Sheriff's Office. They're both there as boots on the ground. If there's any reason to follow up or do interviews, that's what they're there for. And then now, you know, thank goodness the FBI is involved, because now they have all that digital resources available to them where they can access tower data and find out, you know, where the phone was last used for texting or for a phone call. Where did it last register geographically on a tower to show its last location? All that's going to become instrumental, and oftentimes they'll just refer that data to one law enforcement or the other to go out and check out, you know, and do a search in those areas.
Mm-hmm. We've got another question coming in from Tommy online, and he's asking about credit card activity, any activity on his bank accounts. How would investigating that element, if he is on the run somewhere, using those types of things, going to a gas station, if anyone had picked him up, how would they investigate those possibilities?
And that's another useful tool for the FBI. Frequently, other than the digital evidence, they also look for any bank activity. If he's alive and well and he's, like, say, he's down in Las Vegas hooping it up and he's using his debit card, they would know that just simply by accessing his financial institution records and seeing that he's active. Otherwise, they will take the trail of his last activities as a starting point. It's like, oh, it looks like he purchased gas in Montello. So, you know, it is at the same time frame that while he was there at the Saddle Sore Bar. That will kind of give him an idea that, okay, he gassed up. So then you might want to go check out his truck to see if it had a full tank. And if it didn't, that means the truck was driven for an extensive period of time since the last gas up, or the card was used to gas up a different vehicle.
Before I let you go, Jason, you know, time in these cases feels like it just slinks along, and I can't imagine the anguish that a family feels as another day ticks by and they've had no word from their son. In this case, it's Dylan. As you cover these missing person cases, how critical are the early days in something like this? I mean, now it's been almost 4 weeks since Dylan went missing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really critical to try and find anyone that's missing right off the cuff, because let's say it is an accident. Let's say that he, you know, has a health issue that needs to be attended to. He's, speaking of Dylan specifically, you know, he's got no boots on, he's wandering the desert, he's going to dehydrate, and that's a cause of death in just a few days. So you'd want to find him right away and, you know, get him that medical attention that he may be needing. But even if that's not the situation here, let's say he was abducted. Well, you know, eventually someone's either going to release him or they're going to silence him, usually by death, if you know, he can't be trusted to be released and not give their identity up. So if he's, you know, held hostage somewhere, you know, they're not doing a very good job getting the ransom out, trying to let people know, hey, meet these demands and we'll release Dylan. So that doesn't seem to be the likely scenario either. So where's Dylan, and, you know, when are we going to find him? That's really critical, and we're just seeing weeks click on by.
Yeah, no, it's a process of elimination, and your mind goes to the worst places, but good investigative work is what is needed in every single one of these cases. Jason Jensen, we always appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you, and I know you're going to stay on this case. We'll be checking back in with you. Thank you again, and to all of you who joined us online for this discussion into the disappearance of Dylan Rounds, we thank you as well. And if you have any information into this case, you can call the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office or the Texas EQ Search. They have law enforcement on horseback that are out there looking for Dylan as we speak. We've got those numbers on your screen, and we'll also have all of this information online. And we appreciate you taking part as we cover all of these missing cases. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, each and every missing case person matters to us. I know it matters to you, and so this is where we work together. So send us any case that you think that our team should be looking into. We look into each and every one that you send us, and then we work with the families and law enforcement and private investigators in this case to try to shed light on these cases. And ultimately, our mission is to bring answers to the families who want so desperately their loved one back and bring them home. I'm Marnie Hughes. I want to thank you again for joining us. I will see you back here next Wednesday.